Hey guys, I'm Chris Buck and a very warm welcome to Friday Fretworks, and this week a 1959 Les Paul Standard into a 1964 Marshall JTM45. In short, the rig that made rock and roll. Unsurprisingly, in the 60 years that have elapsed since the introduction of the JTM45 in 1963, the story of its origins have become increasingly hazy, thanks to conjecture, misinterpretation, and good old rock and roll embellishment. However, one thing we can be unequivocally sure of is its importance, not just within the world of guitar, but popular culture in general. That black Tolex and gold faceplate being, for most, the very image of electric guitar amplification, and of course ubiquitous on stages the world over. Before that, however, came this. In essence, a very early prototype of the amp that would go on to change the world. Dating back to late 63, early 64, this is a Marshall JTM45 Mark II. Now, of course, in order for there to be a Mark II, there had to be a Mark I, but to give you some idea of how few of those were actually produced, Marshall started their serial numbers at 1001, and by 1037, they were already being marked as Mark II. Now, of course, it's a widely recounted tale that the JTM45 started life as pretty much a one-to-one clone of the Fender Bassman. Now, thanks to the trade embargo between the US and the UK in the 1950s, it was notoriously hard for British musicians to get their hands on American-made instruments and amplification. And even after the embargo was lifted, and companies like Jim Marshall's, then a drum shop based on the Uxbridge Road in London, had started importing American-made instruments and amplification into the UK, the practicality and wait time involved in shipping amps and guitars overseas presented Jim and his technician Ken Brown with a unique opportunity to simply make their own. With the help of 18-year-old electronics whiz kid Dudley Craven, then doing his electronics apprenticeship at EMI, the JTM45 was born, but thanks to a discrepancy between American-made and British-made components, as well as input sought from the likes of Ritchie Blackmore, to Pete Townsend, to John Entwistle, the JTM45 very quickly took on its own character, grittier and more aggressive than a Fender Bassman, leading to Marshall's early motto, like a Fender, but so much more. Thanks to the JTM45's incredible success, Marshall opened their first factory on Silverdale Road in Hayes in London in June of 1964, employing 15 people, making 20 amps a week, and thus Marshall as we know it was born. JTM45's defining moment, however, would arguably come 2 years later in 1966 when a young Eric Clapton would redefine the sound of electric guitar with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. Funnily enough, armed with a Les Paul Standard, not too dissimilar from today's example, taken from 1959. Put the two together, you get something like this. Anyone who's a frequent viewer of Friday Fretworks will know that I'm a little bit of a burst fanatic. I've done numerous videos on the subject in the last couple of months alone, which I shall try and link to above, so I'm not going to labour the point on their history too much in today's video. Suffice to say that if you know anything about those Les Paul standards produced between 1958 and 1960, you'll know that they are amongst the most consistently valuable and sought after guitars in the world. And as you can imagine, a previously uncirculated, unknown burst coming to light in this day and age is quite a rare occurrence. That is, however, exactly what I have here today, currently for sale at Vintage and Rare Guitars in Bath here in the UK. Bought from Barry's Music in Durban, South Africa by Sonny Andrews in 1959, Sonny would spend months lusting after the guitar through the shop's window before his wife would actually put down the deposit on the guitar as a wedding gift in 1959, and its incredible condition really is testament to the concept of one careful owner. Whilst it was clearly put to very good use during Sonny's lifetime before his passing in 2021, it is a near enough untouched example of a truly iconic instrument, with only the jack plate and the crumbling tuners having been replaced, with again the original stored safely in the original case, which is rare enough in its own right. As you can imagine, such an impeccable example of such an incredible instrument will fetch a pretty penny, so if you're feeling flush, I shall leave a link down in the description box below. Now, to be honest, there's not much that I can actually say that will do any kind of justice to such an incredible guitar and such an incredible amplifier. So I'm going to shut up now and play you out. But as ever, I'm Chris Buck. You're watching Friday Fretworks. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe, hit the bell icon if you haven't already, and I shall see you next week for another episode. Cheers, guys. Take care. See you soon.